think a lot of times we look at someone like Alex Hormozi and we're saying, you know, if I just do what Alex is doing, I'm going to make money. And that's fucking bullshit.
The part that they always miss is when they were in your position. Like, do what they were doing when they were in your position.
I'm so sick of seeing everyone's AI social media posts because they're bland, they're boring, they're vanilla, they're not authentic, they're not real.
As a professional AI hater over here, as I've mentioned before, that is why I like your process. Because you're not outsourcing your thinking.
AI is a mirror of your intention.
And everybody comes here thinking, hey, there's a secret method, there's a secret thing, there's a secret strategy.
They're looking for how do I go viral instead of asking how do I become vital.
The next question is like, okay, how do I actually connect that content into profit?
You first need to understand where you are on what I call the map to millions. And the map to millions are...
We've got some
Hey,
fresh,
I'm
new young
Luis.
talent
And
doing some
I'm
things
Luis.
that I know you haven't
And you're
heard
listening to the
before.
Content is Profit podcast. Travis, welcome to the show, my man. Welcome. I'm so grateful that you are here with us.
so excited to be here, guys. I actually got up early this morning and I made you a present, but I didn't have time to wrap it.
That's fine. I mean, am I putting you on the spot if I'm like, I mean, show the present, or do you prefer it for it to be wrapped?
Oh no, I'm gonna definitely show you the present. Not yet.
All right. Sounds good.
I'm gonna make you wait for this because it's hilarious and it's totally. You ever get like that shiny object thing where you're going down this track and all of a sudden squirrel and you're off in a completely different direction? That's what this is gonna do for us.
All right. That sounds like my life.
I'm excited. There has been golden speedos in the past, so I don't know if you want to compete with some of those, but you know, I'm now very stoked.
No competing with golden speedos. Let's just be straight up. There's zero competing with that.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
No, absolutely try. So look, I'm gonna read real quick 3 things that you've achieved, and then you tell me, you know, which one's real, which one's fake. Right? Ready? All right. Created the first training program for the Make-A-Wish Foundation founders, a Hollywood movie producer, and many A-lister experts. Right? Build the teams and systems for multiple 8-figure brands. You produced and guided over 300 solopreneurs to build full-time income online. And maybe you wrote your first book outlining the exact strategies you've used for the past 20 years in digital marketing. So are those, which one of those is real? Which one of those is fake?
Fact.
Let's go.
That's awesome.
Well, thank you, guys. Clearly we have a lot to unpack here. So, I mean, can you tell us a little bit of like maybe lately, the last year or so, we talked a lot about trends in the digital world, right? You've obviously are in the trenches. What are some of the biggest change and that you've seen that give people the most wins?
For me right now, there's probably 2 major things.
Okay.
One is, and they're like almost, they're going to fight with each other. So these 2 things, I'm very passionate about both of them, and they're almost contrarian. So first one.
Yes.
How much can we swear on this show?
All you want.
Yeah, it's good.
By the way, if you have children in the car right now, this is the time, you know?
AI. Okay, so here's what I'm saying. Everyone's got this like, I'm all about AI. I'm doing AI everything, AI content, AI video, AI avatars. And I am so against it.
You can say so.
Fucking.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah.
So here's what I'm talking about. Here's why I say this. I think like passionately that when you're putting out and I call it principal content, like what we're doing here, like the thing that we put out, it should not be your AI avatar. It needs to be you and your personality and your leadership and your mission, and you're building a community around this. And that should not be AI. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, you hear many companies, right? So like the latest thing that everybody's chasing as a company, as a brand, is like community, right? And it's so funny to me, like that you hear that, but at the same time, you see the other side of like everybody's trying to build it with AI, like trying to make this shortcut happen that doesn't really exist.
I'm so sick of seeing everyone's AI social media posts because they're bland, they're boring, they're vanilla, they're not rich, they're not like warm, they're not authentic, they're not real. So what I am a huge proponent of is that that big piece, that principal piece of content you put out in the world.
Yeah.
Kind of like you guys, what you're doing right here, this got to be you, your voice, and you're building your tribe and your community around this movement, around your flavor. Now, with that said, the other piece to this is, dude, if you are not using AI in your business to get that content out there in multiple ways, you are a complete, absolute, like, no.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I want to know more about this, because in the first part of the statement, I was like, Travis, you're my best friend. We're best friends right now. I don't want to say I'm an AI hater. I use AI for a few things. So I'm not a total loser out here, But then on the next statement, obviously people are going to be like, whoa, what are you talking about, right? Like, what is this contrast of opinion between, you got to be unique, but you still got to leverage AI. So help us unpack that a little bit. What does exactly mean you still need to use AI, but you need to have principal content where is you the one showing up?
So have you heard of Agentic? Do you know Agentic AI and what Agentic AI is and does?
Agentic AI? I don't think I've heard about that.
No.
So you've heard of agents and all of this.
Yeah.
So you know what automations are.
Yeah.
Funnels and automations and the things that we're doing, even like, how I'm using certain things with the Stream Deck. I've got so many things built out as automations, but that's not really AI, right? It's not really Agentic. Agentic means working on its own, autonomously accomplishing tasks. So what I'm building that I'm really super passionate about is Agentic AI systems, where you take the principal piece of content that you do, the big piece of like forward-facing content that's you to the world, but then using Agentic AI systems behind that. So you've got an AI strategist, an AI copywriter, an AI that overviews it all, and then different stages. So how do we take this podcast right here and turn it into 72 additional pieces of content with no other people involved? And you can do that using Agentic AI systems.
I love it.
So Agentic, I'm guessing
I already replaced you guys. You guys are absolutely no longer even relevant because I created an AI for each of you. And I did it this morning.
That's the present.
Wait, and it's so good.
I want to see this.
I waited. Yeah, and
I'll battle it to the death.
Whenever we get access to this and test it, we're gonna do a live battle on the podcast with our own AI agents.
I mean, I'm sure my agent is way smarter than me for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm sure he remembers things.
Yeah.
Okay, well, wait. Let's have a Luis and Fonzie BattleBot go on right now.
Let's dive in.
Can you see? Oh, you can't see my screen. Can you see my screen? Maybe you can't. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
What does it say?
Luis and Fonzie bot, right? Turn your content into cash without the guesswork.
Okay, so we can start asking this bad boy questions.
All right.
So Fonzie, ask a question that it's gonna your question is gonna be in your just ask a question. Let's see how accurate the AI bot I made around you.
So is it a question about myself or is it a question?
No, I want you to ask a question about business or podcasting or content.
Because I'm gonna be like, my question was gonna be like, what's my favorite soccer team?
No,
but I don't know. I mean, we talk about it all the time. We talk about that, you know. So I don't know how deep this information goes. But all right,
contextual to maybe people in the studio that have come in, popular questions that they're asking us all the time.
Yeah, perfect. That.
I mean, how do I mean, most people that come in here, they want to grow this podcast as fast as possible, but they have zero audience, right? And they want to monetize. They're like, all right, how do I make money on my podcast if I don't have an audience at all? And it's the first time ever I'm publishing content.
Okay. Can you see what it's doing? So it's thinking in both of your voices, by the way, and it's going to answer as both of you.
Oh boy. Okay.
All right, here's what it says. So the question was this: how do I grow my podcast as fast as possible and make money? And I've trained an AI on both of your voices. And here's what it says. Luis says, all right, buckle up because we're about to rocket launch your podcast and grow cash flow. First, consistency is king. If you're dropping episodes once a month, you're leaving money on the table. Aim for weekly releases at a minimum. And then Fonzie says, yes. Yes. And let's talk about repurposing. Your podcast is a gold mine, bro. Chop those episodes into bite-sized clips for social media, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, you name it. You're not just a podcaster, you're a content machine. And then Luis comes back and says, oh, this is hilarious.
This is awesome.
And it's got your guys' answer kind of in your voice.
It's like a little dialogue going on.
Yeah, by the way, if you're watching on YouTube right now, you're going to be able to follow the script. Yeah. Oh, man.
And Fonzie says, and dude, don't forget newsletters and online communities. And Louis says, yeah, lastly, okay. I've literally cloned like 60 of your guys' episodes and made a complete AI chatbot. And then I went in and I trained it on how each of you talk and how you banter together, and then made a persona in that, and then trained an AI just on that piece. And I put it all into this thing and had it all connect together using something called RAG.
Okay.
Which is a retrieval augmented generation AI system built on the Biz Bros.
Travis, okay, studio clap.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I will say that is the first time on the podcast that somebody comes, with a straight up banger like that one.
Yes, that was pretty sweet, Travis. And by the way, Fonzie, you sound more bro-ish than,
I sound more bro-ish in the chat.
But it's pretty accurate. Let me tell you, like whatever we read, I can't wait to see like the full answer. And here's, by the way, incredible. And this is clearly what you help people do on leverage, obviously, right? I'm assuming. And you're like secret weapon time. Now, I'm salivating because I'm the operator. I like to tinker. I like to experiment with things, new things. Most people, right, starting right now, or whether that's a company, and we just did a live stream for this incredible company down in Miami. When we start talking about these technical things, right, they tune out. They're like, I have so much going on. Like content, I know is a priority, but this level of deep dive and understanding and things can be very overwhelming, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, how do we simplify it, right? How do we now, let's take that, right? Let's say they go into you, Travis, and you work with them, and this is created. Now, what is some use case that we can leverage this and skyrocket, the content results, whatever that result is for the customer?
So let's break it down to its most simple part.
Perfect.
You want to solve problems for your audience, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So at its core, you need to know what problems your audience wants solved. And the easiest way to do that, in my humble opinion, is to get on calls, at least 10 calls a month with your clients, and talk to them.
Yep.
Talk to the ones that are happy with your service, and especially talk to the ones that are very unhappy with something that went wrong in your service. And by talking to about 80% of people that are happy, 20% of people that may have been unhappy about something, you'll really uncover what your market really wants, and know what questions and problems that you need to solve. Then you can take those questions and problems your audience actually would pay to have solved. Then you could run them through one of these systems, and that will help you create content. And then you film that content and then break that content up into bite-sized chunks to spread omnipresent across multiple social channels. So it starts with what we're doing here, making one big piece of content, but really based on the things that our actual paying clients need.
Yeah. Love it. And I think like what I like about this, not just the simplicity, is like, this is the same thing that we've talked about for like the last 8 years. It's right. At the end of the day, we're solving people's problems, right? And everybody comes here thinking, hey, there's a secret method. There's a secret thing. There's a secret strategy. There's so much noise out there, not only with like distribution channels, but like tactics. I remember when like, this is the funny one. Like we just talked to a team about this, like how like Alex Hormozi, like captions. Everybody's like, I want the captions because I think the captions are the things that are gonna drive traffic to my content.
People's attention.
And I'm like, oh, are we having that conversation again for real? And I love, Travis, how you broke it down. It's like, is as simple as like identifying those problems and be like, here's a solution in a digestible way, original, with our personality, and so on, and moving forward.
Yeah, we talk about it all the time. Conversations. Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Travis.
The problem is what you just said was so important that so many people are looking for that thing. They're looking for, how do I go viral, instead of asking, how do I become vital? And Hormozi is so good at giving vital information for growing your business. And it's not the shirts that he wears. It's not the hat. It's not the captions. It's not the arms. It's that he actually has vital business systems. So don't worry about going viral. Worry about truly being vital to the people that need your information. And I think that's the core of it all.
Yeah.
So my question with, the AI that you showed us, first, I already got some beef with the AI, but you gotta understand, I'm a little bit of an AI hater out here, but I love it. I think it's really interesting to see the dynamic, how you fed the information. Obviously, like I'm sure you did this kind of like a little bit quick too. If you have the time to sit down with, your client and build this up, you're going to have way more relevant information that you can feed them, right? I'm guessing the stories, the frameworks, like all these things. For example, right now you talked about having a lot of conversation with your clients. Well, one of the things that we said all the time is conversations create clarity, right? So if you feed that piece of information, I'm sure the AI will be able to retrieve it and all that stuff, make it a little bit more, have more intention, right? But I think what you did is absolutely amazing. Now, my question is, in what part of the process, you say that you can create pretty much like these autonomous agents in pretty much every part of the process, right? But I'm just curious, like, what is the best use scenario for somebody? And we have a conversation before the podcast when we met. You talked about, the editless video, obviously turning views into profit. I'm sure this plays a role into that, right? So somebody that is, concerned on creating vital content rather than viral content. I come in with an intention. I do my research. I have frameworks that I want to talk about. I jump in front of the camera and I record, right? Then what is this AI? What is the next step, right? Like on your end, I don't know, is there like do you drop the video somewhere and then it just does everything automatically, publishes automatically? Like I think there's a lot of blanks in my mind when I'm trying to like visualize the process on what else do I need to do, right? Because one of the things I have against AI is the fact that a lot of people wants to use, it seems like they want to use it to work less, right? Not to work effectively or better quality, is more just to work less. Like I'm gonna let AI do stuff so I can sit on my butt, right? And I'm curious with this, right? This is filling a lot of gaps, but what's up with, the person that's doing the work as well? Like where does that fit in the image? I don't know if I know it's a complicated question. I had a hard time putting it into words. So give me your best.
You can just keep the question completely. I mean, like, just Luis, you asked me the right question. I'm kidding.
No, honestly, there's three pieces to it. So I always build frameworks and models. So in my world, there's three things that you have to do. One is called pre-purposing. So pre-purposing is where you plan in advance what you are going to create. So your planning leads to repurposing later on. I find most people are just filming content without the intention about how it's going to be repurposed later on. So with pre-purposing, it starts with when you're creating your scripts. I'm going to give you the how all this came together. Do you guys ever watch Saturday Night Live?
Yes.
Once in a while.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. When was the last time you actually watched Saturday Night Live from the opening, the cold open, all the way through the very end?
Probably never.
Okay, but when was the thing? Do you watch it on YouTube, like the shorts, like the little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here?
Yep. And the talk shows too.
Same with me. I've never watched Stephen Colbert all the way through.
Yeah.
But I watch, Meanwhile, and I watch his bits and segments, right? So I had this realization. Why aren't I pre-purposing and creating content like Saturday Night Live, where the whole thing works together, but it's actually meant to be compartmentalized, like little bits that I could pull out? So I said, I'm going to start creating content like Saturday Night Live creates a full episode where the whole thing works together, but really it's meant where these individual bits work together. Now, for that to work, the one thing you have to do, and here's what no one's really doing. In the pre-purposing phase, you've got to think about your entire content, but you've got to think about the individual segments, and each individual segment has to have a what? Nailed it, a hook.
Yeah.
And most people aren't writing hooks into each segment. And so when you put your content into one of those AI repurposing machines like Opus or Minvo or whatevs, you've got hooks that are your starting point for each of those segments. You've got a hook and maybe even sometimes a little mini call to action. So when people repurpose content, it's already made to be repurposed. And so when I am planning my content, I'm planning it with repurposing already in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guide us a little bit about that. I love the term pre-purposing, you know. I will start using it and I will attribute it to you, Travis, every single time. I'm going to be like pre-purposing, copyrighted by Travis Houston. But guide me a little bit about that planning process, right? Somebody that is listening to this now and, you know, the question was, how do I start my podcast, make money with that? We are believers that pre-purposing is key, right? We've actually talked about for content is profit, doing similar stuff, right? Including like a game segment and stuff like that, right? We're working on it. But we also have a football show that has more defined segments like what you were just talking about. So guide somebody that is new into this. They want to release a show. What should they consider when doing some pre-purposing?
Okay, this is going to be the shameless plug right now because I picked up the book.
Let's go for it.
Turn views. So what I want to do is I want to give all of your listeners this book because what you just asked me, Fonzie, it's step by step in this book. I lay it out exactly what to do in turn views into profit. And it's a $20 book with bonuses and all that, but I'm giving it to your audience for free at turnviewsintoprofit.com. And you've got to use the coupon code CIP.
Oh, yeah.
So if you went to turnviewsintoprofit.com and there's a coupon code place in there and you put in the coupon code C, the letter CIP, it gives you everything for free. In the book, chapter 6, and when you go to the reader bonuses in chapter 6, that little AI chatbot I just showed you, I've built one for how to write the perfect script. It's called, and it's just, I've got lots of them, but this one's called One Problem, 3 Tips. Like the most classic YouTube video framework ever is here's a problem my audience is facing and here's 3 tips to solve it. Yeah. And so I've created this, I've created a full AI process where the AI asks you 13 questions.
Awesome.
And then based on the 13 questions it asks you, boom, it spits out an entire perfect script. Nice. So if you get the book, which you should go with, get the book.
Yeah.
And then just go right to the reader bonuses and watch chapter 6 training. It's so good for how I'm using AI to help develop your 1 problem, 3 tips framework. And then guess what? That 1 problem, talking about the problem is 1 segment, a short form video, right? Each of the 3 tips are a short form segment. The way I teach you to do a customer case study within there is a pulled out. So you've got 5, 6, 7 things that you can pull out of that video.
Yeah.
So you've got the long form video, and then each of the short forms are already baked into it, and they all start with hooks. Nice. So each of them, it's like you're pre-purposing means that you are planning for pre-purposing later on.
Yeah, I love it, Travis. And
can I add something real quick?
Before you do that, I'm going to connect it with a little bit of a plug for the business club.
That's what happens when somebody says something interesting. We fight.
We fight to the death. But no, all I want to say is like, if you're listening right now or watching, go to businesscreator.club because that's where you're going to see the 6 levers. And what Travis is explaining right now, it fits into the creation and the production lever, right? We talk about this all the time. And I think that's going to help people like, where do I actually use this type of process in the production? It can seem very overwhelming. We just came from the live stream, which we did a run-off show just for like 1 hour on this racing event. And as soon as we ended up the stream, we started talking about how do we do the next one for about 3 hours and 4 hours. And the conversation was exactly what Travis, what you were saying on pre-planning these segments to make sure that the live stream goes well, with the intention on then using that type of content for social media. What happens is a lot of the times people just think about, okay, here's my long form. And then after I create that long form, then how do we select? So you, your editor, your team has to go back and rewatch the thing. Maybe they don't have the right context. Maybe they don't have the right hook, right? So here is like this process that Travis is sharing with you and that we will share you in the Business Creator Club is going to save you a ton of time. And you're going to be able to create so much better content that is going to reach your ideal customers, that is going to solve their problems and keep bringing them back. All right, that was my shameless plug.
All right, so first of all, go to turnviewsintoprofit.com and then use the coupon CIP to get your book. That's amazing. Thank you, Travis, for that. 2 things. First, I have a really good friend that he refers to the real AI, right? Like, how do we reframe AI, and he says authenticity and intentionality, right? And I think this process, right, that is the human side of AI, right? Like authenticity and intentionality. And I think that what you just mentioned adds that to AI, which I really enjoy. You know, as a professional AI hater over here, as I've mentioned before, that is why I like your process, because you're not outsourcing your thinking, right? You're not just telling the AI, okay, I hate when I see this freaking post on Instagram, by the way. I absolutely hate it when somebody's like, this is the prompt. You can create 365 pieces of content with this one prompt. It's like, I am in the niche X. Can you create content, put it in a Y, in a table, the Y axis, whatever. I'm like, dude, you do your research. What are your frameworks? What are your stories? What are your things?
I just imagine the algorithm like in the back end laughing like, ha, 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 again, these people with the stupid prompts.
So again, as an AI hater, and the main reason why I, take that stance is because people like to outsource their thinking. What I like about your approach is that AI is used more as a guide, right? Is facilitating the creation, but you still need to put your input. You still need to put your knowledge, right? And I think that is where there's gold. I was listening to the Knowledge Project a couple weeks ago, and I don't remember now who he was talking to as a guest, but he was mentioning that the school doesn't like the kids use AI. But he said, I let my kids use AI, but I don't let them just be like, hey, can you write for me a, 500-word essay about the American Revolution? He says, no, the way I make them use them is you write the essay and then bring it up to the AI tool and say, hey, look, I am a ninth grader. You are my teacher now. This is the essay I wrote about this topic. Where do you see my weak points are, right? Like, so it's turning the AI into a coach to improve the feedback loop, right? Make it faster. And that's where I was like, I like that idea. I like that usage of AI.
Oh, if I was in studio right now, we would be hugging so hard right now. It'd be embarrassing. Because everything you just said is so true. AI is a mirror of your intention.
Yeah.
And the better you are at putting your intention, information, frameworks, stories of you, what AI is going to give you so much better. So the way I'm actually utilizing and creating AI is I'm not saying go to ChatGPT and use all these stupid prompts. No, I have it built out to where I know the frameworks that work, and I'm going to ask you the question. So in the 1 problem, 3 tips framework, I'm asking you about you, your information, your audience, and I'm asking you for what's the problem you actually solve. So the people actually need to know what problem. They need to know what the 3 tips are. So the 3 tips aren't what ChatGPT is telling you the tips are.
Yes.
It's what you are telling the AI the 3 tips are. When it writes the script, it's actually authentically you.
Yeah.
I love that, dude. I love that. I really, I think I need to create a shirt that says AI hater and a little like asterisk on the corner. And then in the corner is like, kind of like a little quote in there. The disclaimer is like, I'm an AI hater if you outsource your thinking, but if you use it intentionally, that's where I see the value. So I really appreciate you, bringing that to light, because I would hate for the message of this episode be outsource your thinking to AI, right? Outsource all of your work. No, it's like, how do we use this with intentionality and, help us improve our workflows or processes and the way we're delivering our message, not the message from, ChatGPT. So I think that is absolutely amazing. We'll definitely get some shirts made on AI hater.
Yeah. I'm excited. Dude, Travis, obviously, this is the latest. I think that's where we started the conversation, right? But I want to shift a little bit on the connection between this and then revenue, right? That's like after creation, right? People get consistent, which, by the way, are doubles. That's exactly what they say. That's exactly what I say all the time. So like, accurate, very accurate. The next question is like, okay, how do I actually connect that content into profit, right? How do I do it? And that's obviously with what we've seen is that depends on the type of business, different things. With the companies that you've helped, how is that connection made between those pieces of content, the flow, the cadence, how many, like, do we jump on a call? Depends on the product. Like, what are the things that you've seen that connect those two?
I'm just going to talk straight to your audience. So
Perfect.
I have been doing this 20 years. I guarantee I know it works, and it works. There's different stages. So I need this to be very clear. I think a lot of times we look at someone like Alex Hormozi and we're saying, if I just do what Alex is doing, I'm going to make money. And that's fucking bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
You need to identify there's 5 levels, and however many levels you want it to be, you need to only jump to the next level. So the way I look at it is the very bottom rung. Let's just talk 5 levels right now. The very bottom level is what I call invisible. Like, you want to help some people, but you're kind of invisible to the market. They don't really know you. They don't see you. Level 2 is called emerging. You're starting to be seen a little bit more. You've got some onesie, twosie clients. You're making some money. You've got an Instagram, but no one's really like commenting to you. So you got invisible, you've got emerging, and then you got stable. Level 3 is stable. This is where a majority of people stay, at that stable level. They're making, 50, 100 grand a year. They've got some clients. They're doing pretty well. This might be the level that they never get past that level. Here's where like you guys are and where Hormozi is. Level 4. You guys are like level 4 leaders. You're a leader in a space. You have a community. You've got great clients. You're not charging $50 an hour anymore. You're being like, if it's not 10K, I won't even touch it, right? Mm-hmm. So you're at that leader level. You've got community. You've got influence. Now you got that level up above. Level number 5 is Hormozi. Icon. Most people won't get to icon. Here's the issue. Most people that are at level 1, invisible, or level 2, emerging, see a level 5 leader, and they're trying to do what a level 5 icon or a level 4 leader or a level 5 icon are doing. And you can't do that. You don't jump from level 1 and 2 straight to level 5. Mm-hmm. You need to emulate the level right above you. Mm-hmm. To turn this into content. So when you ask, how do I make cash out of this? Or how do I turn my content into cash? You first need to understand where you are on what I call the map to millions. And the map to millions are 5 different levels. And you identify where you are on the map to millions. And then the strategies that you put into place are the level above where you currently are, because you don't skip rungs on this ladder.
Yeah.
I'm gonna share a little story here. There's a framework that we talk about a lot. It was born here in Content is Profit. We call it the publishing pyramid, right? And what you just mentioned, I was like, you just threw me back to that, right? When we started our publishing journey, trying to create content, we, the icon back then, or I mean, he still is, but the icon at that moment was Gary Vaynerchuk, right? And he was talking, publish everywhere, 20,000 pieces of content a day, actually 40,000 a second, all these things. And we were like, okay, we got to do that. Guess what? It didn't work because we were probably invisible at the time, right? So we couldn't operate first. We didn't have the resources that he had, right? The staff, all the editors that he has, you mentioned it. We couldn't do that. So that led to burnout. And that led to that framework for us, which is the publishing pyramid, which at the very top is resources, and we try to operate at the wrong resources, but at the very bottom is message. If you have the resources, but you have your foundation is not set with the right message, it's not going to work out. So we decided, what if we, with the resources that we have, which is us, our time, let's start by dominating our message. Let's do a 45 live challenge where we're just going to focus on the quality of the message over the quality of the production, right? So this, what you're talking about, monetization, feels very similar, because it's like a lot of people are just trying to do what the icons are doing because that is their point of reference, rather than, again, being more intentional and thinking to themselves, okay, where's my problem? Where am I at? What are the products, the offers that I have? How can I monetize this? And going about it on a, honestly, smarter way. Work smarter, not just harder. And then the other part I wanted to talk is the influence ladder. We talk about it a lot here on the podcast. We're like, you know what? When we started the podcast, we're like at the bottom of the ladder of influence. So we couldn't get Tony Robbins on the podcast. It will be impossible. I mean, we could ask, But I mean, the chances of him saying yes were going to be very, very small. So we went for the level C influencer, maybe a level B. And once we got one of those on the pod, we kind of like went up a step and two in the ladder of influence, and we could leverage that relationship to bring, maybe an icon, maybe a little bit somebody bigger, right? So your story just makes me kind of like relate so much to it because of fusing those two things, right? It's important to know where you're at the moment, right? Like what is that level of influence that you have, and at the same time have the intentionality and honestly the awareness to know where your business is at, the resources that you have, so you can have the proper plan to monetize.
Well, see this. I don't know if you can see my screen or not. If it's my iPad's going to behave today.
Oh yeah.
I literally have a whole visual that when I'm taking someone through it, I'm like, okay, like where are we? Are we here or are we here? Because we don't jump stages. We've got to figure out where we are on a map to millions. We got to figure out what stage we are. And there's literally very specific things we do at each one of those stages. And I think it's important that if you're going to be leading a community, if you're going to be helping people go from one stage to the next, you need to have the right strategy to move to the next stage. And you don't do, like if you were a level 4 leader, definitely do everything Gary V talks about because he's an icon. Level 4 people can go to level 5. Some can.
Yeah. So
you got to lead people to their just their next level. And that's how you grow scalably without burnout. Because if you try to do what Gary V does at a level 1 or 2, it's just true, utter burnout.
Yeah. Now, question. Because by the way, awesome. Love it. And to be able to, I'm going back to some episodes and of people that I followed, like, okay, model or do, the thing that they're doing, right? And the part that they always miss is when they were in your position. Like, do what they were doing when they were in your position. Now, how do we find that? Like, I want to be very tactical at this right now because people are listening. Oh my God, that makes so much sense. I'm invisible right now, or I'm emerging, or I'm stable, and I want to get to that next level. And I want to see what whoever I'm following was doing at that time, or the people, the strategies and things and tactics that are working, the frameworks that are working. Then, how do people find that?
You interview. So I'll tell you what I did.
Perfect.
When I was looking for the right coach for me, 1 year I went to traffic and conversion. This must have been 10 years ago. And I had one question for everyone. So let's say the next conference that you go to. So, and can we just put a pin in this?
Yeah.
You got to be going to conferences in your industry and meeting people. It is, it's not even
essential.
It's not up for debate.
Yeah.
You've got to be going to conferences 2 to 3 times a year at least in your industry and meeting people.
I'm gonna clip this and send it to my wife because every time there's a conference coming, there's a huge fight at home, and like she doesn't really understand what it does to her business. And I'm like, it does so much for her business, by the way. So thank you, Travis.
Over 10 years, your net worth is your network.
Yes.
And you have to be creating these networks, and that will be the thing that grows your net worth, but it's not a immediate return on investment.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you got to be going to conferences in your space.
Yes.
And so I've been doing that for 20 years. And I'm so blessed to have an amazing network. So 1 year when I went to this conference called Traffic and Conversion, my one question was, who's the right mentor, coach, or guide that has a $10 million a year business, works no more than 20 hours a week, has family, has kids, a wife, a family, still married, and the kids like him.
So awesome. So awesome.
So I came in with a very specific question about who I was looking for what was going to get me to my next level. And I just started asking people, who's the person? And there was just, I asked so many people. I must have asked 45 people. And about 30 of those people gave me the same answer. And I was like, okay, that's my next person. So for you guys, you kind of got to identify where you are on your map to millions.
Yeah.
What level am I? And then I would be asking people who are levels above you, who they worked with, what courses they bought, what books they read, who they got advice from, what masterminds they joined, who they hired as a mentor, coach, or guide, and then ask a lot of people. And something will filter through. Like there will be something that's like, oh,
that makes sense. Yeah, it keeps coming back to
people who are a few steps ahead of where you are.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely. I really like that. My question was actually going to be, now that we know about the map to millions, I think the question is not so much of a who do I identify, but is maybe at first, how do I identify where I'm at in the map to millions, right? So how do you bring this to the awareness of the person that is listening? Is there some sort of self-assessment, right, that they can do to know exactly in what path is there? I feel like most of the time is like, I don't know, maybe revenue levels. People are like, well, if you're under, X amount of money, you're probably here. But do you have some sort of framework?
Yeah, totally. Well, this is the framework. I'll just show it to you. So one of the things I'm recording over the weekend probably is I just literally worked with a graphic designer to turn my map to millions into these infographics, right? So I just made
looks great, by the way.
all of them, so people can identify where they are. So the map to millions is stage 1, identify where you are. I won't go into all of this. Map 2, I call the fortune is in the foundation. So the higher you want to go, the deeper your foundation needs to be. Because most people are like they're like a tent, and they think that they're a office building. And so they're trying to build an office building with no real foundation underneath them, and that's going to crack and go. So where I help you next is, now we need to build the foundation, which is your internal value, the content you're creating, your systems, your process, your teams, your values is your foundation. And the fortune is in the foundation. Once you know that, the next thing you got to know is, I call it the value verse. And the value verse is all of the external content you're providing to the world. And you got to map that out at different layers, because level 1, you're going to do different things than you would at level 2 or level 3. So that's the external value. And then based upon the external value you provide to the world, you need to have your own proprietary business framework. Mine is consistent clicks, clients, and cash flow. And I help you do that by getting absolute clarity on who you are and what you offer, building magnetic leadership, and then turning that into predictable profit. And I've got a very specific framework that's all in the book, Turn Views into Profit. Everything, the steps in here are turn views into profit. And then finally, you got to decide what future you want. Are you going to be, this is my one soapbox, is we are right now at a strategic inflection point in history. And a strategic inflection point, you guys know the company Intel?
Yeah.
All right, so the CEO of Intel wrote a book called Only the Paranoid Survive in like 1996. And in that book, he talks about 2 things that I think are game changer. 1, strategic inflection points. The Industrial Revolution was a strategic inflection point. And the thing that got most replaced during the Industrial Revolution was horses and carriages. There was a company called Studebaker. It was like one of the #1 creator of horse-drawn carriages. And they were one of the only companies to survive because they made the transition to cars very quickly. So right now we are in this information or AI strategic inflection point. It is a serious time in history. AI will disrupt everything. This is another inflection point. And so we're the horses. People are the horses of this strategic inflection point. So we're going to be the things disrupted. Okay, last point. So we're at a strategic inflection point, and there's this thing called the dissonance gap. So he talks about it in the book. A dissonance gap is when we are spinning our wheels in analysis paralysis on whether we should ride the line up with AI or whether we should drift and not fully lean in and utilize this and become irrelevant very quickly. And so a strategic inflection point also has a dissonance gap or analysis paralysis. And some people are really going to lean into this moment and thrive and be relevant 3 years from now. And a lot of people are not going to be comfortable with change and are going to be out of a job, irrelevant, and frankly, they're going to be in decline over the next 10 years. So a strategic inflection point is also a decision point. And we are all right now in a dissonance gap of whether we're going to lean in and grab this or whether we're going to fight against it and decline.
Yeah. My note here is everybody listening and watching and the people that follow you, Travis, and the people that follow Contents Profit. I think we're in the forefront of that, and because we're listening to this and because you've stayed this long, you are looking for those solutions and you're looking for narrowing that gap and make the decision, if you haven't done it already. So I think today was a great example of like a very solid roadmap to move forward. So definitely, guys, go ahead and check out the book, right? Turnviewsintoprofit.com with a coupon code CIP from Content is Profit. And I think, we're going to, this will gain results for you almost immediately. I think like you can read that book immediately, apply the guide on chapter 6, and tomorrow you'll have a game plan to continue moving forward faster than ever.
Yeah, I really enjoy our time, Travis. I feel like, we're saying our farewell here. But I really enjoy everything that you've shared, right? And, kind of like staying relevant. Sometimes I do feel personally, as a professional AI hater, that I might be falling, that dissonance gap, right? I'm like, oh, maybe I'm falling behind, right? I'm becoming one of those people that are going to be relevant. But honestly, this conversation helped me feel better about even my point of view, right? And I think my point of view is just a reflection, aligns with my values, right? And what I care for the most, right? Which is that authenticity and the fact that, again, having this conversation and knowing that somebody as well with so much experience in marketing, working with really big names, also has the same point of view. Like it's like, all right, cool. This is good. And it probably helped me shorten that dissonance gap, right? Helped me realize that maybe I am at the right inflection point, right? Rather than being behind it and being against it, right? So I do want to encourage somebody that is listening right now and they might be thinking, I've hated all this AI, blah, blah, blah. They feel the same way. Well, maybe this is the route for you, right? It's like how you use AI for more intentionality, more of a guiding the process, and helping you in those areas, right? Without compromising yourself, on your values and what you stand for. So I think that has been extremely productive. And I really appreciate that, Travis.
Dude, Travis.
Oh, I've so enjoyed this conversation. I think it's really important that we make a decision about whether we're going to lean into this like truly world changing inflection point. We won't recognize. We look back on this podcast 10 years from now. It's not like going from 1980 to 1990, like a little changed in 1980 to 1990, right? 1990 to 2000, a little bit changed. As we go from 2025 to 2035, major change.
Yeah. Travis, thank you so much for coming. Is there any last things you want to share with the people here on the show?
I mean, it's going to just be my terrible, awkward push to be like, I think that this book right here is for the people that have a message and they want to build a following around that so that they can future-proof their business from becoming irrelevant. That's the right way of having just a strategic framework to follow step by step that's at least going to get you through the next 2 years unscathed.
So cool, man.
Yeah.
So cool. Fonzie, anything else?
Nah, just thank you, Travis. I really appreciate it. I'm already thinking of people that I can connect you with that I think you guys are going to, have a lot of resonance and, potentially be guesting each other's shows and all that stuff. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much. It's been a blast. I think we're eventually going to have to bring you back and, talk about the success of Turn Views into Profit.
Yes. Awesome. Guys, with that,
Content is Profit.
Let's go. Guys, with that said, thank you so much for tuning to the Content is Profit podcast. Go ahead and follow the show in your favorite podcasting platform and on social media at Businesscreator.
That is right. And if Travis here help you move one step closer towards your goal, please don't forget to share this episode. And of course, don't forget to leave a 5-star review. And go to turnviewsintoprofit.com and use the coupon CIP.
Let's go. Bye, guys. All right.
That was so good, Travis. Thank you, man.
Dude, Travis, that was a masterclass, man. Thank you so much.